Our first speaker is the founder of Unleash Epic, a strategy and operations consulting firm that helps small business owners build freedom-producing machines powered by systems. He brings over 20 years of leadership experience as an Air Force officer, a Nike leader, and a Price Waterhouse consultant. Through Unleash Epic, he takes proven strategies from the world's top companies and adapts them for small business operations and budgets, including revenue growth tools like location performance optimization that ensure customers can find you, trust you, and choose you. Today, he shares great leaders don't motivate, they create movement, and he's going to challenge the idea that motivation is enough and show how real leaders create momentum that lasts through a practical framework that you can put to work immediately. Please welcome John Villadal. Villadal.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and that was a nice intro. And I chose not to, I didn't know I could tell you what I do and pitch you guys. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do 20 minutes packed of value for you, so that I'm not gonna spend time talking about all that we offer, but we can always talk about that later, or we can follow up. But I am gonna talk about leadership. It's my favorite topic. It's what I wanna spend my time talking about. And the thing about it is, before we go into it, I need to set some context because it's a big word. You know, a lot of people use that word and we use it every day in all kinds of scenarios. So what I want to do before we get too far into the framework that you can use to apply to your life today, starting tomorrow, is set the context. Set the context for what we're really talking about when I talk about leadership and what I call action-based leadership. So to do that, what I'm going to do is ask you to imagine that you have won an all-expense-paid vacation to one of these destinations. So just imagine, as you can, maybe you're a beach person, you're gonna go to Maui or Cabo. Maybe you're a mountain person, you're gonna head to the Alps. Maybe you wanna be a city, see the sights, go out there to New York maybe. So just imagine one, pick it, really feel it, like you won. This is gonna be awesome, you're gonna get into this. So pick one of those. And of course, it's an all expense paid vacation, so you gotta fly to one of these locations. So you're in the jet, you're taking off, you're first class. It's a really great situation, you're so happy. Your friends, your family that won with you are there, and you just get your Mai Tai or your Cosmo or your Old Fashioned, whatever it is that matches your destination. Just get settled in, feeling great. You're feeling great. Flight attendant comes up to you and says, excuse me, we've noticed that you are the passenger who has flown with our airline the most of all passengers on this flight. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, how could it get better? Not only am I winning this awesome trip, they're recognizing me, I'm someone who's special on this flight. But that ends quick because they continue and say, and I hate to alarm you, but both our pilots are incapacitated and we're gonna have you help us land the plane. You're experienced with us, you've flown more than anyone on all of our flights, so you've got the most experience. Could you please help us land that plane? Now, it's a ridiculous scenario, I get it. It's a nonsensical idea, but it's actually not that nonsensical because that's what we do in business all the time. People who have been in a certain seat and have been doing something very well for a long, long time is all of a sudden put into a different seat and they're asked to do something different. And it's tough and it's challenging. So that's kind of what we do. So let's just stick with it for a minute. So stay with me. I know it's silly, but stick with me. So you go with the pilot, you go with the flight attendant, you get to the front of the plane, and this is what you see. This is what you see. I mean, it's just a glass wall of nonsense, right? This is just, what is this? What are we talking about here? So what are you feeling right now? If you're staying with me in the metaphor, genuinely, what are you feeling right now if this is the situation you're in? Scared, right? Your fear. This is pure fear. This is life and death scenario for you and your friends and family and all the other people on board. If you don't figure out how to do this, everyone's gonna die. Now that's a serious consequence. But the reality is that fear that you feel is the same fear you feel anytime you're doing something you don't know how to do it. So that's not unique to this situation. Though what is unique to this is that it's very present because of the life and death scenario. But the reality is that same feeling is gonna sit in you anytime you're trying something new, anytime you're trying something you don't know how to do. So let's just imagine I'm gonna walk in here now. You're standing here, you're staring at that thing, whatever it is, and you're going, okay, I guess I gotta save my life and the life of all my friends and family. And I'll walk in and I'll stand next to you and I'll say, hey, I see you're a little nervous, but you got this. Have you ever heard of that guy, Captain Sully Sullenberger? He landed on a river, bro. You just got to land on a runway. Like, people do that all the time. You got this. You got this. Like, how do you feel now? Not better, right? Not better. Not better at all. Because yeah, that's cool, he did that, but you can't land on a runway, you can't land on a river, you can't do anything. You don't know what you're doing. So what we're looking for here is confidence. And I try to give you some with a little Instagram moment soundbite that boosts up your excitement, remembering that people can do things. But it's not actually what helps you. What helps you is knowing how to land the plane. That's what helps you. So what we're gonna be talking about here is what are those tools, what are those specific skills that you need to practice leadership. That's exactly what we're gonna talk about. So that's the context of what we're describing. So let's just stay with it though for a minute, because to set the stage of what I'm describing, let's imagine I'm talking about action-based flying. That's a ridiculous term, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't it make sense? It doesn't make sense because it's a redundant phrase. I'm saying action-based flying. Flying is inherently an action. So this doesn't make sense to you. But what is the action of flying? Well, there's 4 specific steps that everyone does every single time they fly a plane. They do a pre-flight checklist, so they're checking the fuel, checking the weather, checking the flight path, they're checking the weight of the plane, all kinds of things, bunch of stuff. So they have to do that every single time, no matter what flight they're doing, no matter what, every time. The second skill you have to do is know how to get the plane off the ground, right? Like that's important. So we're gonna do that also. Next skill that a pilot has to do every single time is navigate from point A to point B. They have to safely get from where they started to where they finished. And then finally, arguably the most important one, is they're able to put that plane back down safely on the ground, right? So those are the 4 skills. And we're gonna remember that because it doesn't really matter if we go out to Hillsborough Airport and get a little single engine Cessna and take it up and circle your house in a beautiful blue sky like today and land it. That's probably pretty easy. You could probably do that after a couple weeks of practice. Or we're in the final scene of Top Gun Maverick. We're taking off, we're flying through the canyon, we're saving the world, landing on an aircraft carrier. Like both instances, they did the same 4 steps, right? So the steps don't change. What changes is the complexity of the situation, right? So as you what pilots know, and the reason someone was able to land that 787 that you couldn't, is because they also practiced those same 4 steps in a much safer scenario. They practiced in a Cessna. They got better, they learned, they saw where they were good, they saw where they were bad, they understood specifically what they were doing and how those things applied to level up those skills. So leadership is the exact same way. So I want to set that context for you because what I'm going to tell you sounds simple. It sounds like simple things to say. And that's what, if I'm talking to a fighter pilot, and I say, well, the 4 steps of flying are, pre-flight checklist, and it just sounds ridiculous to a fighter pilot. But they're not going to disagree with me. Those are the steps. And they're also going to remember that that is how they got from wanting to fly to flying a simple little plane to flying a fighter jet. But the practice is the same. They're able to use that framework that they have to acknowledge and see what are the pieces that can make them better leaders, better pilots. So that's how we're going to talk about this. So context is really important. With leadership, it's a skill you can learn. It is not a personality. It's not, you were not born a leader. It's not like this person is such a leader. If I'm going to say you're a leader, what I'm saying is you are a person who can execute a specific set of steps. Kind of like a pilot, right? Like a pilot who has successfully landed a plane many times, but could be sitting here with us. I would still call them a pilot, even though they're obviously not in a cockpit right now. But if I took you and I put you in a cockpit and I gave you a cool hat with the wings and stuff, you don't get to be called a pilot. Yeah, you're in the seat. Yes, you have the hat. I love the hat. But you don't get to be a pilot, right? That's just not how it works. So it's a set of skills. It's skills you can learn, and it's a set of specific actions. There's 4 specific steps every time you lead, whether you're just leading yourself to get out of bed at 5 in the morning every single day consistently, or you're running this entire company. There's 4 specific steps you take every single time you practice leadership. And it's progressively developed. So we've already covered that. Just like the fighter pilot and the simple Cessna, leadership's the same. So if you practice and you know what you're practicing, you can say, well, I didn't do that very well, but it was a safer space. But now I can understand that there's a specific skill I can practice a little better here so I can level up that skill when I'm moving up on my leadership ladder of skill. So that's what we're talking about. So the last piece of context I need to set before I jump into the 4 steps, which is what you're all here waiting to hear, is leadership versus management, because this is an important additional distinction. And what's really important to say is one's not better than the other. They're both super important skills, but they overlap. So some of the skills that make you a great manager are some of the same skills that make you a great leader. So because of that, sometimes we get them confused. And also people who do one often do the other. So they're different things though. So in your world, let's talk about management. So management is basically ensuring a process can consistently operate with predictable inputs, producing predictable outputs. That's management. So in your world, you might say, I've written a loan, I've given it to the underwriting team, they're gonna do some stuff, and then that comes back to me at a certain time with certain stuff done, and now I know what I can do next, right? So you are confident that someone is managing that process for consistency. That's what we want with management, consistency. Does that make sense? But with leadership, what we're really saying is I see an opportunity for something to be different. I want a change in my environment. I want something to be not the way it is right now. And I need other people, or potentially just myself, to make that change, to bring everything to a new place. So that is leadership. So when I talk about flying, it's literally from taking off to landing. When I talk about leadership, it's starting here with this idea for a change and ending here with the change happening. So that's the path we're describing. That's leadership. And if you do it enough, if you land enough of your leadership planes, even if you're just sitting here not actively doing that, you're still a leader. Does that make sense? So that's what we're gonna kind of dig into. So step one every time, just like the pre-flight checklist, is you gotta have a great idea. You gotta be able to say, this is what we should do. This is the idea. So that's simple enough, right? No, it's not. That's really hard. So here's what that looks like. There's a 4-step process to build a great idea. It always starts with a thought. So I see the opportunity, I see the problem, something should happen. Something's not happening the way I want it to happen. So I have a thought, and that thought may or may not be structured, it may or may not be plausible or even possible, but I have a thought. So I turn that thought into an idea, and the way I do this is I say, how do I make that thought possible? How do I make it something that could actually occur, could actually come to fruition? No matter how complex, remember the complexity can change, but the idea is I can make it possible. Now, how do I make an idea a good idea? To become a good idea, it has to be the best possible idea of all the different scenarios that are possible for me to execute, right? So I'm looking around and I say, this one is the most efficient, it's the least disruptive, it's a good idea. That takes some work. And finally, how do we get it to be a great idea? We take that good idea and we check our environment and we see, is anyone else already trying to solve this? Is there already something happening that I can just support instead of me implementing something new? If I can do that and I see there's not, my idea is the best way to do this and no one else is doing it, I now have a great idea. So the step one is to have a great idea. And that's the process every single time. So this is what we're gonna try to do. And to remember this, it's TIGIGI, T-I-G-I-G-I, the TIGIGI process. That's what we're talking about. That's how you are a person who may or not be a creative, but knows that you can see an opportunity, work your way through the steps, and get a great idea that you want people to buy in. This is the non-sexy part of leadership that doesn't get Instagram quotes from John Maxwell or Simon Sinek because no one sees this work. But this is the work that gets people to buy in when you start to talk to them, because you've done the work to make it a great idea. So we don't need to motivate them, we don't need to show them, because we've done the work to make a great idea. Step one. Now step two, a clear plan. Now when I say plan, I'm not talking about a spreadsheet or a Trello board or all the different little whiz-bang timelines or whatever. What I'm saying is you have to take a moment and say, what do we have today that we don't have, that we are going to need to do what I'm talking about? What are the behaviors that we're missing? What are the resources that we're missing? What is the environment missing in order to create this opportunity, to bring this idea to life? Like, what are those pieces? So you're kind of doing what are the behaviors? What is the environment? What are the resources? You're kind of working through this idea and saying, how do we build a plan to put these pieces in place that makes sense. So that's the plan. So now we have a great idea and a plan to make that idea be possible. This is a huge step forward because now we've done all this work that we can start to share. So that's what we're going to get to, is those meaningful connections. Now we actually are starting talking about leading somebody. We're going to say, how do I lead you? Well, I'm going to get a meaningful connection with you based on this idea and this plan. Now that doesn't mean you're my direct report and you do what I say. This means I'm talking to you about why this matters. I'm convincing you that this idea, I'm influencing you based on the work that I've already done. So the word I didn't put up here that's so important is meaningful. And what does that mean? It means I'm going to make sure that I'm being very specific about who I'm talking to with this idea and what I'm talking to them about. So what does that mean? There's going to be 5 categories that everyone that we're going to lead when we're talking about our great idea and our clear plan is going to fit in. One of these 5, ARPC. So first you're going to have the people who you have to be aligned with. Now let's imagine you're a mortgage broker or mortgage specialist and you want to make changes to the underwriting team. Well, in order to do that, you're probably going to have to talk to the person in charge of the underwriting team, possibly the CEO of the company. These are people who you need to be aligned with in order to make that idea come to life. So these are people who have a lot of say on if your idea is going to actually happen or not. There's someone you have to be very, very close to, and like if things change, they need to know. So you're categorizing people that you say, I have this idea, I have this plan, and I need to get aligned with certain people. I have to know who they are and remember them, track that. Next is our recommend folks. So these are folks who, maybe they're experts in the field. They really know the answer. They can help guide you. They can show you flaws in your plan. They can give you different perspectives on your idea, but they don't necessarily have a say. So it's not a direct, it's maybe a mortgage broker or a underwriting specialist from another company who can share perspective with you. So these are folks who, they're different when what you're trying to give to them. Third are your partners. Your partners are the people who can go out and do things without necessarily having you have to drive it, but they have a key part of bringing this plan to life. So these partners of yours, so it could be like the manager of the underwriting team. That person has a role. In order for them to do their role, you have to influence them to want to do that part with you in the way that you're hoping will achieve your idea. So that is a totally different way to deal with a person than these two. So you have to be aware of that because you're giving them something different than you're giving the other folks. Next, we have our supporters. These are people who are just gonna do stuff for you. They're super important, but they're just, what is the goal? What's the plan? What's the action? When do I have it done by? Those supporters are crucial in your plan. They're crucial to your leadership, but they need something different than the other 3. And finally, are informed, or sometimes called impacted. These are people who will be impacted by the change that comes from your leadership. Your leadership is about driving change, about making something different. That means there are people outside of your immediate viewpoint who will have something different in their world. So you have to think about that. In order for your idea to be truly great, for it to last, and for it to be meaningful, these people have to be thought about. You have to be able to share with them what's changing, why is it changing, when is it changing, so that when the idea happens, when things change, they're with you, they're on board, they're addressing the change. So we're bringing meaningful connections along, our great idea and our clear plan. Step 3. Now, the actual part that everyone talks about, is all over Instagram. Simon Sinek has books and books and books about the hard work. So ultimately, what this is giving everyone what they need in order to be successful to help you achieve the plan. That is the work of a leader. And it means that you've done a ton of work up to this point in order to do this part. So this is the part we don't talk about. This is the sexy part, but all of the work you did going into this, that's what makes you feel like and seem like a natural leader or a person who's just got leadership presence. It's not that you have some special personality, it's that you did the first 3 steps and you did them meaningfully and you did them with practice and you failed and you learned why you failed and you got better. Now you're out here and you're saying, I know who I need to be aligned with. I know who I need to partner with. I know why the idea is great. I know what we need for the plan, and I can share that with them. I can give it to them. And I will be the one who makes sure that our plane lands. And I will not stop giving people what they need to be successful, to achieve the idea, until we land the plane. That is what makes you a leader. That is as much as it is It doesn't matter if you're an extrovert, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert, it doesn't matter if you're a people person, it doesn't matter if you're a strategist. It matters that you do the 4 steps consistently and actually get your leadership plane on the ground. So, in summary, great idea, clear plan, meaningful connections, and hard work. If you practice these 4 steps, and it can be literally just wanting to change your diet, convince your family for something to be different, the 1 or 2 people on your team, let's just do that one thing. Isn't that a great idea? We should talk about those. Do that. Practice these steps as I've laid them out and find your leadership skills getting better. The same way a Cessna pilot can eventually fly a fighter jet is because they did these steps, they practiced these steps, and they got better at them. And eventually, the hard work makes you look like a natural born leader. So, if you want, it's here, you can take a picture, or you can reach out to me afterwards, and I can give you this. This is a 25-point checklist. This is your pre-flight checklist for how to practice leadership. So you have your 4 steps, and you have 25 things you can do every single time. It doesn't matter if you're doing something small for your family or you're trying to change the world, you're gonna do these 25 things every single time. And to leave that, finally, motivation can spark a moment, for sure. There's a time and a place. I'm not saying motivation doesn't matter. There's moments when it's like, you're a football player and you're in the fourth quarter, you're down by 3, your quarterback's leg is banged up, and you just gotta push people to do what they already know to do. Sometimes it matters, but it's a moment. You're just pushing people through a moment. But real leadership is taking that time to show people that they want to buy into your idea. They want your plan to happen, and they want to be a part of it, and you're giving them what they need to help them be part of that. That's the movement that you're trying to create. That's leadership. So that's me. You can connect with me on socials through this. Wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.